So alright guys, now that we've written our first function, we've written our second function, let's quickly write a meaningful function, that is related to trading. So we are here to automate trading related things, right? So the first function we'll be writing is to determine if a candle is bullish or bearish. So if you recall, when I was introducing you to a candlestick, when a candle is bullish, that is when the close of that candle is above the opening of that candle, right? And when the candle is bearish, that means the close of the candle is below the opening of that candle, right? So it is as simple as that. We can simply use that to define our function. So when we are defining our function, what should our function return? Since we want to check if it, for example, let's say we want to check if a candle is bullish. So it is either bullish or not. So we can simply say we are returning boolean, right? Then what should be the name of the function? We can say is bullish. Is candle bullish? We can say is candle bullish, right? Then under the then we can have our bracket. So do we want to take in a parameters? You know what, we should have said, okay, do not take in any parameters, but that would be wrong. And that is because we have a lot of candles on the chart. So which candle exactly do you want me to check if it is bullish or not? So we need to specify the index of the candle. So we can call this, and of course an index is usually in form of an integer, so we can say int, and we can call this index, we can call this shift. You know what, let's get used to calling it shift, because even MQL4 call most of its arguments shift when it want to take in the position of the candle you want to work with. So let's call this shift so that we can get used to it. So I can close this up, then I'll have this. So like I said, we need to know the close of the candle. And how can we get the close? So remember one of the function, an input function that is available for us, which is iClose, right? Which is iClose. Then we can open our brackets. This is going to take in the symbol. We want the chart symbol, which is this. Then what time frame? We can say this time frame, which is the current time frame that we are, the current chart time frame. Then what index? So automatically you can see it is calling shift as well. So you can say what shift, this. Then we can close this. Then we can also get the opening of that candle. You can say open this, oops, this, then this time frame, and this shift. Then we can close it, right? So now what we want to do is we want to say return, just compare. We can go slow, but of course you are a professional by now, so we can say return close is greater than opening. So the moment the close of this candle, the value that this function returns, is greater than the open of that candle, it is going to return true, and the true will be returned, which this function is going to be returning true or false. So this will be returned. So another way we can do this, we can say, let's go slow. So we can have this result defined here. So you can say results, this. But like I said, you are a professional, you are too big than doing this. This is for an amateur. So now this is our function this is the function that tells us if a candle is bullish or not. So we can simply say, let's call this function. So you can say, okay, you know what, let's do this. Let's implement, since we already learned about decision making and stuff, let's implement. So we can say, you know what, we want to call this function, and of course the function, when we try to open the bracket, it's going to tell us that the function will be returning true or false. So let's see. You know what, we'll now store this as result or whatever we want. Then we can say, we can specify the index of the function that we want. So let's say we want the recently closed candle. We want to know the candle nature. We want to know if the recently closed candle is bullish or not. So we can close this. Then we can say if the result is true, equals to true, what we want to do is that we want to say alert this candle of index, whatever index is specified, index, index. So you know what, let's just say this candle is bullish. Let's just do this so that I will not complicate things. So I can just say this candle is bullish, and in the case where this result returns false, so we can simply say this candle is bearish, right? So I can say this candle is bearish, right? So I can save and I will compile. So let's see. Okay, we have an error, and that is because put I did not close this quote, right? So that is one error. So while you're trying to practice all of what we've been doing so far, you might be having error, and you should be able to debug yourself, right? Then I'll compile again. So now let me run this. Okay, it is telling me bearish. You know what? Let me get rid of this guy. So I'll remove this. I'll clear this so that we won't have anything disturbing us, our view. So I'll remove this as well. So let's run this again. So you can see this is bearish, and that is why it is telling us that it is bearish. So it candle 0, candle index 0, candle index 1, and it is bearish. So that is why it is telling us that this is bearish. You can see that. So let's target for this, which is of candle 2. Candle index 2. So 0, 1, 2. Let's give this argument candle index 2, So let me save and I'll compile. So then I will launch again. You can see it is telling us that this is bullish, and that is because, of course, it is bullish. This is a bullish candle, and let's try for this. This is even simpler. You can see that we are still working on index 2, right? So now let me launch this. You can see it is telling me that this is bullish, right? And that is because this is candle of index 0, this is candle of index 1, this is candle of index 2, which is bullish, right? So now let's try to see if this candle of index 1 is bullish or not. You know what, let me run this and I'll specify 1, right? So I'll save and I'll compile. So let's launch this. Alright, so it is telling us that it is bearish. So automatically we've written a function that determines if a candle is bullish or if it is bearish. In the next lecture, we write more function, and of course we'll be getting rid of our skeleton. So I believe by now you should have the way of defining a function already memorized. So I'll see you on the next lecture.